turkey work has a unique appearance. Depending on the effect you want to create, you can add texture with looped stitches or cut the loops to create plush piles of thread. You can see I've used turkey work to create soft and tactile thistle flowers. It's an excellent stitch for suggesting natural textures. I find that starting turkey work takes a bit of concentration, but it doesn't take long to get into a rhythm. Begin half a stitch length along from the start of the design. Take your needle down through the fabric from the front rather than from the back. Leave a short tail of thread free. The length of the thread can act as a guide for the size of your stitches later on if you want. Secure this tail with a stitch from left to right and bring the needle back up again next to the tail. You can see that the stitch comes up behind the anchor stitch and halfway along its length. Take the needle down half a stitch length beyond the anchor stitch and leave a loop of thread. Secure this stitch by bringing the needle up next to the first anchor stitch to make a second one. You can see that as I brought my needle back up, the loop shrank. At this point, I can still easily adjust the loop to the right size, as I haven't locked it in place. I'm keeping hold of it with my thumb now, and the locking stitch goes down half a stitch length beyond the loop. Now the embroidery starts to fall into a rhythm of staggering the stitches. Each loop begins next to the previous loop and ends half a stitch length beyond the last anchor stitch. Each anchor stitch builds on a continuous line of stitches, securing each loop from left to right. As I said before, I'm using the thread tail as a size guide, but you can make the loops any size you need. If you're building up a pile of stitches, each row is stitched separately with no run-on threads. Once you've finished a row, secure the thread on the reverse before starting the next row from the left-hand side again. Remember to start with the needle going down through the front of the fabric to leave a small tail visible. I decided to stagger my stitches to prevent the gaps that can form where stitches line up. Again, it depends on the effect you want, but uneven stitches will create a more natural looking pile when you've finished. This row took some concentration, as I'm staggering two types of stitches that are already staggered from each other. The previous line of turkey work will always act as a guide. Each looped stitch ended parallel with the junction between two anchor stitches in the row above. Each anchoring stitch finished at the same point as the loop above it. It wasn't easy to keep this spacing exact, so I had to keep referring to the row above. As you can see with the third row, each line covers up the previous one, so I only have the row above for reference. This third row mirrors the stitch placement in the first row, but it's easier to use the stitches in the second row for guidance as they're still easily visible. At this point I'm also playing thread chicken. You can see I just dropped from 3 strands to 2, but it's enough to make the final locking stitch. This final part is optional because it depends what effect you need, but once all the loops are secure, you can cut them to create a plush pile of threads. I chose this pink because it reminds me of thistle flowers, but now it's making me think of an anemone too. When you've cut the loops, you'll need to tease the threads apart a bit more. Use your fingers to break up the clumps. A needle is good for creating a more fluffy look. And here's the finished result. Thank you for watching. Please leave a comment if you have any questions about turkey work or embroidery in general. If you'd like to see more stitch tutorials, I have a playlist here. Please give this video a like and subscribe to get notified about my new tutorials and projects. Bye for now.